Yeah, the first question says, this is paper 3 of 2, the A level, October, November. So now the first question. The first question says, some multinational oil companies extracting oil in developing countries are now required to repair the damage they do to the environment. So here there are two costs involved. There's external cost and there's private cost. So let's see how the options are. They said, which best describes the total cost incurred by the oil companies in such circumstances? The oil company has to pay damage, has to repair the damaged caused through their own extraction. Then that is an external cost. And the cost they incur in the cost of operations also is a private cost. So the answer is B. So private cost plus external cost. That is the total cost incurred. The second one, the private cost is the cost incurred in the cost of operation. And the external cost is the cost that is as a result of the damaged cost to the environment. The second question. They said, in an economy, no one can be made better off without making someone else worse off. What does not necessarily follow from this? The condition of allocative efficiency has been met. If the condition of allocative efficiency is met, it means that everyone is fine. So the condition for productive efficiency, allocative efficiency, productive efficiency is good for the society, is good for the economy. The third one, the distribution of income is socially acceptable. The fourth one, the economy is operating at a point on its production possibility curve. So if the economy is operating at a point on its production possibility curve, it's still good for the economy. So it does not affect anyone. But if one has to be made better off as a result of someone else being worse off, it will be based on distribution of income. And when there's distribution of income, it means the government is trying to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. But there's no way government could successfully bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. But whatever government comes up with in terms of income distribution, it has to be socially acceptable. So that means in the course of government trying to build up, or in the course of government trying to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor, there will need to be distribution of income. And whatever the case might be, it has to be socially acceptable. So there's no way they want to do it. It will affect one side of the economy. It's going to affect certain individual or certain group of individuals in the economy. So the answer is C. Question 3. It said a government decided to approve a road building scheme because it was socially beneficial. In making a decision, it calculated the private cost as 800 million, the private benefit as 800 million, and the extra cost at 150 million. What must have been true about the external benefit of the scheme? The first option is external benefit equaled private benefits. No. External benefit exceeded external cost. I think so, but let's check C. External benefit exceeded $200 million. It doesn't even show 200. External cost. Let's say external benefit exceeded $200 million. No, it doesn't show anything of such. There was no external benefit. There would have been external benefit because they said it is socially beneficial. So that is social benefit. And how do we get social benefit? We get social benefit when our external benefit exceeds our external cost. So that means the answer is B, question 3. So external benefit exceeded external cost. Remember, external benefits are benefits to the individuals based on their action. And external cost is what? Benefit. External cost is the cost to the third party as a result of the action or inaction of individuals or firms or the government. So the answer is B. Question 4. So what is it called when a consumer marginal utility is greater than the price paid for the good? That is consumer surplus. Here, what they meant by marginal utility is that means the extra satisfaction derived from the consumption of a commodity. So if a consumer derived extra satisfaction than the price he or she pays for the product itself, then that is consumer surplus. So that's question 4, which is C. Question 5. A consumer has $3 to spend each day on chocolate bars and or toffee bars, which all cost $1 each. The table below shows the unit of additional satisfaction she gets from consuming each bar. First chocolate bar, 16. Second chocolate bar, 13. The third one, 10. First toffee bar, 14. Second toffee bar, 12. Third toffee bar, 9. So they say, what should she buy to maximize her total utility? When you check the first chocolate bar and the first toffee bar, it's 16:14. That is 2. For the second one is 13:12. That is 1. The third one is 10:9, which is 1. So it is 2:1. So it is about 2:1. So that means the answer is B, 2 chocolate bars and 1 toffee bars. Question 6. It said, the curve JK in the diagram is a consumer initial budget line. That is what consumer is wanting to spend at a point in time. So which combination could cause the budget line to shift left to GH? GH is a leftward shift. So what would have caused that? An increase in price of good X. An increase in price of good X would shift the demand for good X leftward. And at the same time, an increase in the consumer income, consumer's money income, would also lead to a decrease to GH. So the answer is A, question 6. Question 7. So the diagram shows a consumer indifference curve, IC for goods F and G together with the consumer budget lines. So what could explain the movement from X to Z? So the movement from X to Z should be a forward, that's an upward movement from F to X to Z. What would have caused that? A fall in price of G when G is an inferior good, a fall in price of G when F is a given good. No, it's about G. So a fall in price of G when G is a normal good. If it's a normal good, then the consumption should fall at that point in time because the level of income has fallen. The budget line is below the budget line. So the answer is B. A fall in the price, the answer is A. A fall in the price of G when G is an inferior good. Question 8. Said a firm has a choice between 5 levels of output. The table shows the total cost and total revenue of producing at each level, at each output level. The firm could sell whatever output it produces. That means all things being equal, the firm could sell whatever it produces, okay? Now the firm decides to produce 4,000 units. At 4,000 units, the total cost is 23,000 and total revenue is 28,000. So what is the firm's aim? At that point in time, okay, to maximize profit, no, it can't maximize profit at that point. Because at 2,000, there's maximization of profit at 2,000. So at 2,000 output, that's 6,000. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, that's 6,000. This 5. So based on these 4,000 units produced, it means that the firm wants to maximize revenue. Because to maximize profit, it has to check, that's profit at the highest level, which I think it's for 2,000, yes, the profit is higher for 2,000 units, that's 6,000. For 3,000 units, that's 5,000. For 4,000 units, it's 5,000. For 5,000 units, it's break even. So at 4,000 units produced, the firm wants to maximize revenue. Question 9. In which type of market structure are commercial banks usually found? A perfect competition because they are all linking. They all link their interest rate to that of the central bank. No, it's not. Commercial banks are not perfect competition. They are imperfect competition. Perfect competition, no, they are not. They are not perfect competition. It's imperfect competition. Monopolistic competition because the competitive market prevents them making excess profit. No, it's not monopolistic. Because in a monopolistic competition, they produce similar products with advertisements. So no, it's not monopolistic. So let's see D. It's an oligopoly because they are affected by the actions of other banks. Yes, it is oligopoly. Yeah, it's oligopoly. So they are affected based on the actions of other banks. Yeah. So most of the time, oligopoly is a market structure whereby you have few large firms. How do I put that? They say oligopoly is a market structure where you have few large firms dominating the industry. Few large firms are dominating. It's a competitive market, but few large firms are dominating. So that is oligopoly. So it is D. Question 10. Question 10 is, okay, question 9 is D, now question 10. What is the condition for operating a successful cartel? A cartel is the combination of few firms coming together to agree on price to ward off competition or to make smaller firms in that industry to be worse off. That is a cartel. So now the question says, what is the condition for operating a successful cartel? A large number of firms in the industry. Each firm has a differentiated product, low barriers to entry to the industry, strictly enforced production quotas. And the answer is D, strictly enforced production quotas. Number 11, which assumption is essential for a market to be contestable? So for a contestable market, it means that it has free entry and exit. So let's check. The market is supplied by a large number of firms now. Firms are free to enter and leave the market. Yes, the answer is B. Then question 12. What is generally associated with the principal agent problem? When we talk about the principal agent problem, it's basically the conflict between the principal and the agent. And when it comes to the conflict between the principal and the agent, it's based on the directors and the shareholders. So directors will prefer the company to grow rather than increasing shareholders' dividends. So the answer is A, question 12. Question 13. It said the table shows the output of shares at a factory when different numbers of workers are employed. At zero, number of shares are produced. At 1, 7 numbers of shares were produced. At 2, 17 were produced. At 3, 26 were produced. At 4, 34 was produced. At 5, 40 were produced. When will the diminishing marginal returns to labor set in? If at 1 worker produced 7 units of chairs or 7 chairs, 2 workers should be considered producing 14, but they produced 17, which is what? Which is an extra, that's marginal. Then at 3, when the workers become 3, they produce 26. For 2 workers, they produce roughly 8.5. At 3, they are supposed to produce more than 8.5, probably 9 or 10. But if they are unable to produce above 8 or 9, then there's a marginal return to labor. So let's check. 26 in 3 places. That's 12, 12, 12. 26 in 3 places. 26 in 3 places. That's 8, 8, 8. They are unable to even produce 8.5. So that means there's diminishing marginal return to labor here because the productivity of labor at an increase in the extra 1 worker does not increase the marginal product. So it is 3. That means in the third worker, employing the third worker makes it to become diminishing marginal return. So 13 is B. Question 14. The chart gives information about the average daily wage rate of all industries in India. In 2011, it was 230, 2012, above 240, 2013, above 250, 2014, 270. So that means for each year that passes by, the wage rate increases. So what would have caused this trend in wage rates? So what would have caused an increase in the wage rates? Let's check. A, they said an increase in capital intensive production. B, an increase in the number of industrial workers. C, an increase in the number of people unemployed. D, an increase in the productivity of labor. So let's take it one at a time. An increase in capital intensive production. If there is capital intensive production, that means the wage rate should fall because at that point in time, firms are using more of machines than people, than workers. So that means the wage rate wouldn't have even increased. B, an increase in the number of industrial. B, an increase in the number of industrial workers. An increase in the number of industrial workers. If there's an increase in the number of industrial workers, that implies that firms might not even be willing to pay more, because at that point in time, the supply of labor is more than the demand for labor. So the wage rate will fall. So B is not the answer. C, an increase in the number of people unemployed. Unemployed people would not increase productivity. It means that unemployment means that resources are not fully utilized. So it does not increase productivity of labor. And D, an increase in the productivity of labor. Yes, it will be as a result of an increase in productivity of labor. Why? Because when there's an increase in productivity of labor, firms would generate more revenue, which might lead to more profit. And as a result of that, they might be willing to expand more and even increase the wages of labor. So the answer is D for question 14. Question 15. A country has a negative income tax regime. So the curve NT in the diagram shows the country initial tax schedule. So here it says a change in the tax rate causes the schedule to shift to NT1. So to shift to NT1, that means a forward shift to NT1, okay, which is still positive. So how will this affect work incentive and after tax distribution of income? Shifting forward, if the national tax shift from NT to NT1, it means the work incentive would have improved and distribution of income will be less equal. So the answer is A for question 15. Question 16. There's a fixed supply of skilled workers in an industry. Firm can no longer find enough workers to meet their demand for labor. That means there's a shortage of workers. So what could be a solution to the problem? Allow wage rates to fall as market demands. So if wage rate falls, the demand for labor is increasing. So that means automatically the wage rate should increase. So it's not A. B, introduce work sharing and reduce working hours. It does not help at all because it will rather reduce productivity and tired. It will also exhaust workers. They would be doing more than what they used to do. So that is not an option. C, make offices more attractive by adding air conditioning. That does not change anything. We're talking about the demand for labor here. So a conducive environment is not the problem. It is how you get more workers. So let's look at D. It said, provide more training courses for new recruits. Definitely. Firms should recruit new workers and train them. That is the only solution. So D is the answer for question 16. Question 17. A government is worried about the increasing monopsony power of employers in the wage bargaining process. Which policy combination is most likely to improve the wages and employment prospects of workers? The trade union powers, the immigration controls, the national wage. Yeah, the combination that would improve the wages and employment prospects should be through the trade union, like improvement in the trade union, yes. Immigration control, yeah. Then there should be regulations between those who come in and go out of the country, especially the immigrants. Yeah, there should be regulations about immigrants coming into the country, and the national minimum wage rate should raise. As a result of this, there will be an improvement in the wage and employment prospect of workers. So the answer is B, 17. Question 18. What is not a source of market failure? Imperfect information. Imperfect information is a market failure because that is asymmetric information. B, income inequality. Income inequality doesn't have anything to do with market failure. It will either go for government failure. C, monopoly. Yeah, monopoly is a market failure because it restricts consumers of choices. And non-excludability. When you talk about non-excludability, it means that the consumption of one stops others from consuming it. So that is the market failure also. So the answer is B, which is income inequality. Income inequality is not a market failure. It could be government failure. Question 19. The government regards fresh fruits, vegetables as merit goods and subsidizes agriculture to boost their production. What could be a government failure arising from these subsidies? Cheaper fresh fruit and vegetable, yes, subsidy would cause that, yes, which is good. It's not a market failure. B, so here's a government, okay, so a government regards fresh fruit and vegetable as merit goods and subsidizes agriculture to boost their production. This would, so what is my government failure here? Cheaper fresh fruit and vegetable as a result of subsidy, that is not a government failure. That is good for the economy. Lower spending on treating dietary illness, yes, because now people would eat vegetables more and that improves the health of people. More jobs picking fruit and vegetables, yeah, government would have, that means more jobs would have been created as a result of that. B, land clearance reducing wildlife. Reducing wildlife is an external cost. It's even a social cost. So that's a government failure. So B is the answer from the question 19. Question 20. It said, which type of unemployment is associated? Which type of unemployment is associated with a deficiency in aggregate demand? Aggregate demand is the total demand in the economy. So if the total demand in the economy falls, it becomes cyclical because it affects all economic agents. So it is A. Question 20 is A. Question 21. In the diagram, OP is the equilibrium level. OP is the equilibrium level, okay? Is the equilibrium level, okay? Of income, and OQ is the full employment level. OQ is the full employment level. So what is the deflationary gap here? C plus consumption plus income plus government spending. Yeah. So it will be from U to V. Expenditure, consumer expenditure will rise because there is attainment of full employment and the income level is increasing. So consumption plus income plus government spending would make expenditures to increase. So it is at UV. That's 21. 21 is D. 22. What represents an injection? What represents an injection into a country's circular flow of income? Corporate taxes, interest payment on government bonds, the payment of dividends to foreign shareholders. Foreign shareholders, no. The payment of bank loans, no, that is private. Talking about the national circular flow. It is interest payments on government bonds. B, that will improve the circular flow of income in your country. So it's C. No, 22 is B. So 22 is B. Question 23. What will be the most likely consequence of an increase in the dependency ratio? If the dependency ratio of an economy increases, it will definitely reduce the GDP per capita, which is the same as the GDP per head in the economy. So question 23 is A. Question 24. Which statement is correct? Economic development is necessary for economic growth. Economic growth and economic development are directly proportional. Economic growth enables economic development. Economic growth is always sustainable. Economic growth is not sustainable. They are not proportional. It will only enable economic development. So the answer is C, question 24. Economic growth enables economic development. Question 25. The diagram shows the production possibility curve. The economy is initially at point X. If the economy achieves actual economic growth but not potential growth, what would be the final position? What would the final position be? If the economy achieves actual economic growth but not potential growth, that means there's growth, though not fully. So that means it will move from X to D. To move, if it is at X and it does not achieve potential growth, that means just actual growth. It will be from X to D. So there's an improvement from X to D. That's 25, which is D. Question 26. It has been estimated that by the United Nations, that the total external debt of developing countries has been increasing by about 425 billion each year. What is least likely to achieve would likely to have contributed to this? Disincentive for foreign direct investment through political instability, increased government subsidies for the development of tourism industries, withdrawal of multinational companies due to delays in the award of government contracts, worsening of the terms of trade with partners in developing economies. All these would have caused it, except increased government subsidies for the development of tourism. Because if government have improved tourism, that would increase export of trade, export of services in the economy. Then the debt would have reduced. So A, C, D would cause it, but B would not be as a result of increase in national debt. So 26 is B. Question 27. The following are four conditions sometimes attached to the International Monetary Fund loans to developing countries. Which condition would conflict with the infant industry argument? What are infant industry? Industry that are just going up locally. So the need to allow free trade, the need to control inflation, the need to have contractionary fiscal policy, the need to privatize government enterprises. Privatizing government enterprises would increase output, which is good. Contractional fiscal policy, that means fiscal policies are taxes and subsidies. So fiscal policy, governments might increase tax. For as an example of contractional fiscal policy is taxation, increase in taxation. So that would stop international multinationals coming into the country. They need to control inflation. If inflation is controlled, it does not have effects with the infant industry. They need to allow free trade. Yeah, they need to allow free trade. There's a conflict there because if free trade is allowed, multinational companies would come into that country, which means it might affect the growth of infant industries. So question 27 is A. Question 28. In which exchange rate regime would the central bank of the country be best able to pursue an independent monetary policy to control the rate of inflation? A system where the country's currency has a targeted value in relation to the US dollar? No. A system where the central bank buys and sells foreign currency at a fixed rate. At a fixed rate, best able to pursue independent monetary policy. No, it won't be at a fixed rate. Where the country participates in the monetary union with other countries. No. A freely floating exchange rate, yeah. Floating exchange rate would help the country to pursue independent monetary policy, which can also control inflation. So the answer is A. 28 is A. 29. What is measured on vertical axis of the Philip curve? The Philip curve is about inflation. So it is the rate of inflation on the vertical axis. Then price on the horizontal axis. So the answer is C. Question 30. Workers in poor countries are often less productive than workers using the same technology in rich countries. What would be the most likely to remedy this situation? Workers in poor countries are often less productive. Why are they less productive? An increase in the saving ratio in poor countries, that would not make them to be more productive. Increased freedom of migration from poor countries to rich countries, that would rather lead to less productivity because they will leave the country. Increased investment in education in poor countries. Yeah, investment in education will improve skills, will increase their training, and will make them to be more productive. So number 30 is C. But before then, let's look at D. The removal of trade barriers imposed by rich countries on import from poor countries. When trade barriers removal of trade barriers does not change productivity. When you talk about productivity, it comes from the workers and how well the workers are in terms of education, in terms of training, in terms of skills. So the answer is C. Question 30 is C. So that's all about paper 3 of the A level. If you have any question, you can let me know. Thank you.